We spend so much time trying to figure out the secret to a successful life, usually by studying billionaires or, I don't know, abstract philosophers. But in this explainer, we're going to look through a completely different, honestly kind of shocking lens. We're going to uncover how an ordinary technician built a remarkably resilient, shock-proof life by treating it exactly like a machine.
So, here's our blueprint for today. We'll start with an engineer's life system, move into the 5 elements of CYSM, then look at investing to prevent failure. After that, adapting through lifelong learning, and finally, we'll wrap up with systems thinking in geopolitics. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, an engineer's life system. To really get this system, we have to understand its creator, Lin Kangjian. Now, he isn't some flashy hedge fund manager. He's a technician from Singapore who spent 40 years maintaining electrical systems just to ensure they simply didn't break down. And eventually, he realized that exact same logic applies to us. This led to his core philosophy, which I absolutely love. He says, "The objective of my life system is not to chase success, but to prevent failures from accumulating." Think about that for a second. It's such a comforting, anti-hustle mindset. Instead of redlining your engine trying to chase massive overnight wealth and totally risking burnout, your primary focus is just reliability. All those decades of practical, hands-on maintenance experience boil down to this one really elegant philosophy, the Kang-Yan Systems Model, or CYSM for short. It basically maps out human existence purely through an engineer's eyes. You've got your inputs, your processes, and a massive core focus on just maintaining balance. It is not about huge, disruptive wins. It's all about steady, continuous operation. Section 2, the 5 elements of CYSM. Let's open up the HUD and take a look. Every functioning machine needs specific components, right? And in this life system, there are 5 modules that have to work in total harmony to create that long-term reliability. I want you to think of your own life as we go through these. First, you need to read signals so you know your sustainable direction. Then, you have to allow time for your long-term processes to actually run their course. You use capital to create financial buffers. You've got to maintain health. That's your vital biological infrastructure. And finally, you build stability to ensure small errors are caught way before they turn into a full-on systemic crash. So out of all those components, Lin formalized his observations into this really beautiful, simple equation. Certainty is a function of signal strength and processing time. The absolute crucial point to take away here is that time acts as an amplifier. Think about it. If you have a fragile structure, giving it more time just means it's going to break more spectacularly, right? But if you have a stable, well-engineered system, processing time naturally builds certainty and profound strength. Moving on to Section 3, investing to prevent failure. Now, let's look at how this actually builds actionable financial resilience rather than just keeping it as some abstract theory. Lin treats his investment portfolio exactly like an industrial automation system running on autopilot. When the market drops and everybody else is panicking, his system just mechanically auto-rebalances into the market, relying on an expanded 20% cash buffer. And when the market rises, it simply trims back to 10%. He's essentially built a financial shock absorber. Imagine applying this to your own savings. During the 2008 financial crisis, while so many others were facing ruin, his automated buffers simply absorb the impact. No emotions, just pure mechanics. Section 4. Adapting through lifelong learning. Okay, here is a universal truth of engineering. A system that cannot adapt to new environments is eventually going to become obsolete. Over 40 years, Lin methodically evolved his own internal software. He didn't just learn one trade and call it a day. He actually started in the arts stream back in 1984, moved to technical courses, got into early robotics in 94, and amazingly, well into his retirement, he jumped right into studying applied AI in 2025. He is literally treating his brain exactly like an operating system that needs constant dedicated updates. This whole journey shows exactly how he found certainty in what often feels like a completely random, chaotic world. By extracting valid signals from all the noise around him and constantly recalibrating his skills over time, he built this educational path that is entirely resilient to major economic shifts. It's really quite brilliant. But get this, he doesn't stop at mental software. He applies this exact same rigorous engineering logic to his physical hardware too. That's the health module of his system we mentioned earlier. Today, he's actually using artificial intelligence tools like DeepSeek and Gemini to literally write maintenance routines for his own body. He models out a low-ages diet, strictly manages his salt intake, and prioritizes healthy fats like cold-pressed olive oil. So he isn't just eating meals, he is actively managing the long-term reliability of his cellular infrastructure. Section 5. Systems Thinking in Geopolitics. So we've seen how this applies to a single human life and a personal portfolio. But what happens when we scale this exact same engineering lens up to the entire globe? Well, if we look at the China-US dynamic, we can view it not through messy, emotional politics, but purely as mechanical interaction. This isn't about right or wrong, left or right. It's just an impartial observation of two completely mismatched systems generating persistent structural tension. It's honestly like watching two massive gears with different teeth counts trying to turn each other. And when you impartially compare the blueprints of these two massive global engines side by side, the friction just makes total sense. China's system is this production-oriented export engine, driven by high savings and long-term centralized planning. The US system, on the other hand, is a consumption-driven engine, heavily reliant on dollar dominance and much shorter electoral cycles. When you look at it that way, you immediately realize they are operating under inherently incompatible equilibrium conditions. They have completely different timelines and entirely different structural goals. As it's noted here, stability may exist temporarily, but structural tension remains embedded in the system. You see, a system doesn't actually need to completely collapse to generate friction. It merely needs to remain misaligned. And because he recognizes this permanent tension as an unchangeable engineering reality, Lin proactively adjusted his own financial buffers. He purposefully designed his personal life system so it could safely absorb the shocks of this massive global misalignment. Which brings us right back to you. I really want to leave you with this question to chew on today. If life is a machine, what hidden failures are quietly accumulating in your system right now? And more importantly, how will you engineer your own stability for tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building your resilience.